So welcome everyone to the 4 AGM of the RASC Halifax Center. It's good to see the folks here in the room, and unfortunately I don't have a screen in front of me, but welcome everyone in Zoom land as well. Okay, I don't know what it's like where you are, but it was snowing here, so one never knows what's going to happen. On behalf of the board, welcome. Our president is Tony McGrath, and he can be reached at president@halifax.rasc.ca should you have any questions for him and any member of the board. Or you can certainly go on to our website, which is halifax.rasc.ca, and under contact us is all the list of how you can reach the various executive and some of the appointment positions as well. And we certainly have the YouTube channel at RASC Halifax. For those that have missed meetings, all our meetings are recorded, just so you know, and they are up on the website, as all our AGMs. Also on our website, I'll point out that if you're ever interested in what the board does, if you're really excited about what the board might be doing, certainly go to our website under About Us, and you will see the board minutes there, and all the approved board minutes are posted on our site, as are the AGM minutes, not only the approved ones, but also the draft ones, such as the draft 2023 ones, for instance. So you can reach us in any sorts of ways. First, we would like to acknowledge the fact that the RASC Halifax Center respectfully acknowledges that we live and observe on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we thank them for sharing their lands with us. The RASC also believes in and practices inclusivity and diversity, and Halifax Center welcomes all with an interest in astronomy without prejudice. And as Helen Sawyer-Hogg, one of our illustrious RASC members, said, the stars belong to everyone. The agenda is there before you, and it had been pre-circulated 3 times, actually, in October, November, and just this past week. There are polls. For those of you out in Zoom land, in order for you to vote, we have to set up polls. So those are the pieces of the puzzle where we will be putting something up online. Those of you in the room can just vote by show of hands, but those online can vote via the poll. The reports that are there, other than the treasurer report, are not being read at the meeting. They were pre-circulated for you to review and to formulate questions for clarifications or whatever. So those will be approved as a lump group of reports rather than being read. Peter will be presenting the nominations for both the board as well as opening the nominations for the appointed positions. And excuse me, I want to point out a couple of things regarding the nominations. I'm sure Peter might point these out, but I want to make sure it's pointed out now so that when he comes up, he can reiterate it, which is we recognize that some folk may want to be a member of the board, but don't really like the governance piece of it. I want to let you know that this past year, we have reviewed all position descriptions, all policies, and as of today, we will have completed, hopefully, the bylaw review. This is done about once every 5 years or so, or when there's been some major shift at the national table where we've had to review some policy or procedure. So if that's not your bailiwick, you're off the hook in the coming next couple of years. So if you want to participate, we'd love to see you. And with respect to the appointed positions, you may want to participate on one of the committees that we have, but you don't want to chair it. If you want to participate, please let us know. We'd love to see you at that table, and we can figure out a chair at a later date. But please let us know if you'd like to participate there. And remember that as a center, we are a team, and I'm a lover of acronyms, and I went looking for what could possibly the word team mean, T-E-A-M, and together, each achieves more. So keep that in mind. Okay, so Jared?
Wow.
So are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda? I'll put it out to the floor to both people here and on Zoom. Okay, Jerry, next slide, please. I need a motion from someone to approve the December 7, 2024 AGM agenda as circulated. I see Bob's hand up there at the back. So Bob Russell, seconder. Blair? All in favor? I put up the poll, please. Okay, here in the room, Any nays in the room? Any abstentions in the
Nays.
room? Okay.
Good.
Okay,
We're good.
close the poll.
Yep.
And the results? Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Room and Zoom. Okay, thank you. All right, for the next piece, I will apologize that I thought I had forwarded the minutes of previous meeting. They are now posted on the website. I'm hoping folks have had a chance to read the minutes from last meeting and of course, also tax your memory for a year ago. But next one, please, Joe. What we need is approval of the AGM minutes of December 2nd, 2023. First of all, I guess I should ask, are there any errors or omissions in those minutes?
Behind one.
Yes, it is. Just click the button again. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Now I need a motion to approve the minutes as posted on the website. Mary Lou moved. Seconder. Anybody from Zoom land? Bob, is there someone there? Okay.
Nobody from
Chris
Zoom.
Young, second. Uh,
Okay, the poll's up.
Okay, post the poll up now, and all in favor of approval of the minutes in the room, hands up. Okay, any nays, any noes? Any abstentions? Thank you, one abstention. Sorry, how'd that poll go? Okay, thank you. All right. And it's at this time in the agenda where I invite Mary Lou to come up and talk about Roy Bishop's telescope.
Well, we got a big crowd here. I don't know how many are on Zoom. Can you hear me okay?
Maybe come here so you're on camera, if you don't mind.
Okay. So we're officially in front of the camera and Jerry's got a slide. Last month, and you've seen it on social media, there was an email blast. There we go. This is, okay, now it's mine. It was Roy Bishop's. This is a MacNewt 6-inch f4.8 carbon fiber David Levy Comet Hunter telescope with a wooden barrel-back mount and a Vixen track and train motorized alt-azimuth mount. And Roy gifted this telescope to me in May, and he said, do with it whatever you wish. And I decided that I would put it up for auction as a fundraiser for the maintenance fund that we're setting up for St. Croix Observatory. And we had online bidding Monday to Friday. Now we have in-person and Zoom. So people on Zoom can bid on this telescope by that chat on Zoom. People in the room can bid. There's a bidding sheet there if they want to write down, or they can text me at this number with their bid. Bidding started on Monday at $500. The bidding is now at $550. The increments for the bids, $25. So if someone wants to bid, we're going to start at $575. And by the end of this meeting, this telescope is going to be sold and somebody's taken it home. And the money is going to go into a newly developing endowment fund for the maintenance, preservation, and future success of our observatory, your observatory, our gem of St. Croix Observatory that we need to look after. So this is a silent auction. You don't have to stand up and yell. If you want to write down a bid, if you want to text me a bid, if you want to, for people out on Zoom, if you want to just put a bid in the chat. And We will look at the bids at the end of the AGM part of the meeting. And if there's none that come in after that, we're done. But if people bid until the end of the members meeting, then we'll look at whatever comes in and we'll have a winning bid and someone gets this amazing telescope with such an interesting provenance, because we all know that Roy Bishop would never have a telescope that did not have exquisite optics, right? Right. Okay? There's no eyepieces with it. But all of the information is on our website. You can go to RASC, halifax.rasc.ca, and all the tech specs for the telescope are there, which went out, it's on the website and it went out on the email blast. So that's all the information about the telescope. I haven't unwrapped it. There's the tripod, the mount is in the box, the telescope is wrapped up in pink. If somebody's desperate to see it.
So, at any point between now and the end of the meeting,
Yeah.
is there any way to determine where to bid or is it kind of online?
Well, at the end of the AGM, if there's bids that have come in, I will look at them and we'll let you know. And if there's,
I think what we'll do is at the end of the break,
yeah,
we'll look at the bids and say the highest bid is this. And
Yes.
that way people have an opportunity during the general meeting to put in an additional bid if they so
Yeah.
choose.
so right now we're at 550. So the next bid has to be 575 and then 6 and 625. That's how that goes, okay? And when I priced out the bits, we were, the bits on the retail side of things, you're looking at about $3,000 for that telescope.
Mary Lou, there's a question.
Yep, Tony?
Some of us are getting old. And,
No.
that's already done ourselves.
Well,
Is this the way we should, donate to RASC and have this happen regularly, or, what should we do with those?
the center, refer to our policy manual, because we have a lovely policy on donations that covers a whole bunch of issues around that question.
Okay.
Yeah. That's online too, right?
It is.
Took us a long time to develop it. We were very careful.
Under About Us, there's a little pointy thing, triangle. Just hover on
drop-down
that
menu.
and go down to policies and it's down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? So we're open for bidding on Zoom and here in the room. And the floor is 550, so the next bid's got to be 575 and
Upwards.
upwards. Like, feel free to bid $5,000,
Okay. All right, so annually we have to appoint an auditor, and the board had approached Dave Chapman, who is our current auditor for 23-24, and he has agreed to be auditor for 24-25. We need a motion to approve Dave as the 2024-25 auditor. Paul Heath, thank you. A seconder. Tony Schelling. Sorry, I have to write this out. All in favor, and the poll is up. They'll see it shortly. Anyone with a no?
No, it's still coming in.
Or, sorry, or an abstention in the room? Thank you, one abstention.
Okay.
Okay, and Zoom 100%. Okay, next slide, please, Jerry. Okay, so this is the report segment of the AGM. Greg Dill was unable to attend today's meeting. He's judging, I think, curling or something to that effect, so he was unable to attend. So Dave Chapman will be presenting Greg's report on his behalf. Followed by that, as I said earlier, the reports are not being read, but we will provide an opportunity for those in the room as well as those in Zoom land to ask questions about any of the reports that you see there. And then we'll have another poll to approve the reports as circulated. Okay, so Dave, if you want to come up and you're addressing the treasurer report already. How about that? Early. It's right. Well, it was there.
So as I said, I'm not the treasurer, and but if you have any questions, serious questions about the money, we'll write them down and go back to Greg so he can respond. I will be auditing this in the new year, and I guess my report will come out, in a couple of months or so, and it looks like I'll be auditing it next year as well. But I think next year, what we're going to try to do is get the treasurer's report to the auditor before the meeting, so that when the meeting happens, the auditor's report will follow the treasurer's report immediately, right? So those are the numbers. I had a look at them in the last couple of days, and I'm looking at them in generally, this year is much the same as the last year, is what I'm saying. Now you can look at the details. I should say that this year and last year were a bit unusual, partly because of the issues that were around Nova East, because last year we had to cancel Nova East, and so we had to, we had income for Nova East, and then we had to give the money back. But what happened is, I think some of the money that, some of the checks or whatnot got issued or cashed after the end of the fiscal year. So that kind of, so there's kind of an imbalance in the income in that for Nova East. This year we did do Nova East. It was really poor weather. It was, I think there was a stalwart group of people who showed up, but it was a smaller Nova East than usual. So it's been a bit unusual the last couple of years. So hopefully next year it'll be more normal. So I do have some remarks here from Greg about the membership fees. They've gone up a little bit. And I should just say that we have 146 members, and of those, there are 18 life members. So life member, I'm one. They don't have that category anymore. Back in the 80s, I became a life member. I shelled out, I can't remember what, it seemed like a fortune at the time. But ever since then, I haven't had to pay any membership fees. So the life members don't pay any membership fees, except for donations, because a lot of life members have in fact taken pity on the RASC and given a donation every year in lieu of a membership fee. So there are people who do that. So that's why you got some donations there. Most of those donations are from members that they give when they renew their membership, and occasionally we get donations from education outreach, but I see it zeroed out. So sales of merchandise. So that's calendars, Explore the Universe books, and I guess this year there were solar glasses, but that's not net because down in the expenses side, there's the cost of the merchandise, but through some kind of entrepreneurial magic, we managed to make money on the things that we bought and sold. So there you go. We made a few. Yeah, Nova East was a small income this year. Is that in there? Yeah, it looks a bit tiny. That's just because it was a low attendance, and we thank everybody who did come. More and meetings, the expenses for meetings, that's mostly, I think, the Zoom subscription fee that we have to pay to make all this magical electronic stuff happen. And then there's depreciation and write-offs. I don't personally, I wouldn't put that under expenses because it's kind of, it's more got to do with our inventory. But anyway, it's in there. We had a good review of the inventory last year on paper, and I did have some recommendations made last year. And I think that we're heading towards maybe revaluing a lot of the things that are on the inventory at the observatory, including the buildings. I understand. So next year, I think we're gonna have a better representation of the inventory that we hold. Also necessary for insurance purposes. So I already mentioned the purchase of merchandise. Insurance, yeah, that's insurance. That's a modest increase. The SCO operating expense is in there. Yeah, well, that is like a nominal tax that we pay to Hants County. Boy, if you could get away with paying $30 tax a year, I think you're in pretty good shape. So so the cash, the balance sheet, is there another sheet? Is there another sheet coming up?
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
I blinked. I just okay. So you know we've got a healthy amount of cash on hand. That's the balance in our checking account. We've got some investments, some GICs that were reinvested. Accounts payable. I never know what that is. I should know that as an auditor, shouldn't I? But I only do it once a year, so I have to remind myself what it means. But what I think it means is that there's checks out there that haven't been cashed. Is that right? Accounts payable, or is it the other way around? We've written checks to people and they haven't cashed them. Is that right? Okay. So it shows you how much I know. Do you really want me to be the auditor? Yeah, well, yeah. I would be able to say more about this if I've actually sat down and studied it, which I'm gonna do with Greg's help, and then there'll be a proper auditor's report. Daphne? Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think as an auditor, that's something I would want to know the answer.
Dave, can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, the question is, why do we have income from Nova East but no expenses? So let's go back. Good question. I'm going to ask Greg that. Yeah, so I'll tell you offhand what I would guess is there's not a huge amount of there's expenses for door prizes for sure, and that's of the order of $700, I think. So it should be there somewhere. And there's
been accounted for last year.
That is true. We may not have spent anything this year, so but it should be under 2023, right? But yeah, good point though. I mean, even if it's in there, it should probably be separated out so you can see the income and outcome. Good point. But we don't have huge expense. It's volunteer run. We buy a little bit of food. We buy prizes that we have to, the camping pays for itself. So, you know, unless somehow that's the net, the Nova, what it says Nova East net. So it's like the income minus the expenses. So there you go, net. That's what it means there. But I'll make sure that Greg breaks it out for the audit, okay? Maybe we can revise that and just have that. Tony?
My membership last week and I didn't give a donation. So, because I'm going to the next stream,
Uh-huh.
look at all the cash and investments we have.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, should I have donated or can you give me a reason why I should donate money to the center? Anyone can answer the question.
No.
Dave, could you repeat it?
Yeah, you could. There's a good answer.
So if I put in $40 donation, you're saying that I could specify that it go, or at least I could tell someone here.
So you want to make a donation to the center, not the RASC as a body.
Yeah, you get two choices, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're able to hear me, but I would suggest that if you're going to donate to the center specifically, you send it to the treasurer directly, to the treasurer at halifax.rasc.ca, and in the comments specify donation, general donation or donation towards whatever it is you want it to go towards. And that way, if you want your donation to go to the scope fund, for instance, it will go there. Or if you want to just go in general coffers, it'll be cited there.
Okay. So your answer is, Pete, if we set up this new fund and you're looking for money to go in there, and donating cash technically towards that is the way to go.
We would certainly appreciate that, yes, because
Okay.
one of the things that we're going to be a little bit, I'm sure Michelle and Tony will directly answer this, but that money will be helping us make money to make sure the SCO can be funded from here and forever.
I do want to, there you go.
Okay.
But I do want to point out to you, you understand that if you donate to the center, we're not able to give you a charitable receipt. Only the RASC, okay, just so you know, because that comes up again and again. We're not, the center itself is not a charitable, it doesn't have that status. So it's just, okay, am I done?
Unless there are no other questions, yeah.
Good.
Your approval?
Pick up the next,
You've got an approval?
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that, sorry. So would someone like to move for the approval of the treasurer's report? Blair, I guess, seconded by Chris Young. Okay, we're done. All, I guess, am I supposed to do this? All in favor? I say it passed.
Any no's?
Where's that abstention person?
Any abstention?
No objection.
This wants to be different.
I know. How are we on this now? Sorry.
Can you actually take down the numbers?
On this screen,
I don't know if that's necessary.
it's 100%.
Do I get a prize or anything?
For the best hat in the room, yes. Okay, that's fine. It'll take me a moment to get this on. Okay, can you hear me, Bob? Okay, good. Next up on the reports is, as I said earlier, the reports were pre-circulated for your review. Are there any questions or concerns you have about any one of the reports that were pre-circulated? I open the floor for questions here and in Zoom land. I should make note, as Dave has already said, the auditor's report is not available for today for approval, nor is the library report, but they will be available early in the new year. Hey, no questions. I need somewhere up there should be a poll, Jerry, please. Can you click my screen so it shows?
Yep.
There it is. So I need a motion to approve the executive and appointed position reports as pre-circulated. Mary Lou, thank you. A seconder? Chris, thank you. All in favor? Okay, any no's? Any abstentions? Who's the seconder, did I say? Chris, that's what I thought, okay. And 100% Zoom, okay. Thank you. All right, I'll call upon Peter now to address the nominations. And I'll give him my mic. All right.
Shoot the right microphone.
No, that goes up here. This goes in your pocket.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So
There you go, and put it up as high as you can. I know.
Hello. Okay. Thanks, Judy. So that the nominating committee members this year were myself, Judy Black, and Tony McGrath. For the board, we can, our bylaws say we can have up to 10 members. We have 8 nominations at the moment. You can see that we have a director position open and vice president is open. So nominations are open at the moment. I believe we never closed them. So following Robert's rules, I'll ask for nominations 3 times. So are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Anything from Zoom? Okay, thank you. So I need a motion to close nominations now. Okay, Bob, and seconder, Gary Weber. Okay, so because we have 8 of 10 positions,
Just a second.
oh, okay,
Nope, gotta get the results. One second, Peter, sorry.
sorry, never done this part.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I guess we don't need an election. The board is appointed by acclamation. So welcome to our incoming board. Our bylaws stipulate that the board can appoint members to the board. So I expect the vice president position will probably be filled by the board at their first meeting on January 7th. If anyone's interested and needs a refresher of what the duties of the vice president position or of any of the board positions, if you can go to our website and look for the position descriptions are there. You can use the search function to find where they are. I've forgotten where they are on the website. Okay, next one, I guess. So nominations for the appointed positions. We have a number of vacancies. I guess I should say that the nominating committee didn't twist any arms. We didn't threaten to break any knees. So we have a number of vacancies, it seems. The co-chair for the Dark Sky Preserve Committee, Communications Committee, Novi's Planning Committee Chair, librarian, SCO manager, and I'm stepping down as the nominating committee chair. So these nominations are open and they'll remain open until the first board meeting, January 7th of the new year. Again, the position descriptions are all on our website, and you can ask me or any of the other board members if you have any questions about any of these positions, or if you're, let us know if you're interested.
We will be.
It's
Peter, can you repeat the question, please?
the question is, will this list be posted on the website? It is in the nominating committee report already, which I think is posted, but we can post this. Yeah. Okay. We'll put a link on the first page. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Are there any questions?
This was all emailed around to all of our members, right?
Yep.
All of this.
Yep.
If you're a member, you're good about it.
Yeah.
Because it's coming up in the meeting that people review and say,
You didn't tell them about the pre-trip to Rio and for the vaccines. You didn't tell them about that.
Nobody told me about that. Do you have the tickets?
Please donate.
Okay.
Things can be fun, they can be fun fights. Come on, people, it's your club, volunteer.
I do have a question. With the board today, we have a communications thing.
It's in, sorry, is it not on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's on.
In my vice president's report, and the vice president is the person that is ultimately responsible for communications committee per se, I noted that I fell down on my duty in that regard this past year, so there has not been one this past year. But there will certainly be one coming. We're hoping to get one going in January, February this year and review our website and how we communicate with our public and entities outside of the universities even. So we're going to be looking at that whole thing. Anyone that would like, Dave's question was who can be a member of the communications committee? Any member. So if people, we have not formed it yet, Dave.
Chair of a committee.
We are about to form, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. There was a communications plan drafted a few years back. In fact, you and I were involved in that, and so was Melody Hamilton a few years back, and that's been sort of sitting on the shelf collecting dust. We're hoping to resurrect it and revise it completely. All right. Okay. Now comes the fun part of the meeting, amendments to the bylaw. First of all, I want to describe what the process is, because it isn't just a matter of the governance review committee reviewing it and then bringing it to you. There are several steps that are required. One is that the recommended changes that the governance review committee made go to the board for their approval to circulate to you, the members. The board cannot approve bylaw. That is the purview of the members of the center. And according to our bylaw, we have to present the proposed changes to the membership at least 30 days before the AGM. Well, the first set of minutes, or the first notification on October 29, that was 38 days before, then November 22nd, 14 days before, and this past week. So there was plenty of notification regarding what the proposed changes were. We then make this presentation at the AGM. Hopefully, the members will approve what has been proposed, and there could be amendments made to the proposition that is made to membership, so we'll discuss that. And then once it's been approved, it goes to the Registry of Joint Stock Companies of Nova Scotia for their review and approval, and it isn't until we receive their approval that our bylaw number 1, 2024 is enacted. So even though we may approve the proposed changes today, it is not enacted as of today. Just want to make people aware of that. Okay, next, Sharon. I'm not going to read the document that I sent out to everybody line by line, but I just want to do a very quick and dirty summary. First of all, throughout the document, we removed any referral to gender. There are so many nuances in today's society. We wanted to make it as simple as possible so that regardless of your gender designation, you were covered. It was covered within the bylaw. And we also took out the hashtag in the title so that it wouldn't get confused with hashtag. Next, please. The definitions, we added hybrid meeting because, as you can appreciate, since COVID, we have incorporated Zoom in our meeting. So it isn't just an in-person meeting anymore, it is hybrid. So that definition was included. And National has changed their designation from unattached member to national, so we changed that in our definitions. The membership conditions, fees are no longer paid directly to the center, so we had to change that. So that was changed in 5.1.24. And the qualifier in good standing was made in 515, just to ensure that it was understood that people had to have had their membership paid in order for that particular point to take place. With respect to termination of membership, we changed the statement slightly to reflect those in attendance at a member's board meeting duly called. Excuse me. there's change there. And with respect to the Board of Directors, we just changed the title on it to reflect the actual name of the center, which is the RASC Halifax Center Board of Directors. And the second item, in the last few years, the board has met 10 times a year, obviously not during July and August, but the board felt that as long as we made it at least 6 times per year, we may not require 10 every year. So that was changed to reflect at least 6 in a membership year. Next, please. With respect to officers and directors, we basically made clarifications as to their roles. There were some things that were unclear and some things we knew were just wrong. For instance, in the president, the previous version specified that the president presided over all meetings of the center, which then meant that they had to preside over all the committee meetings too. That's been changed. I don't think Tony wants to attend every meeting, or nor any other president who succeeds him either. So that was changed to only be the Center Board of Directors and members' meetings, unless it was the board agrees to have someone else. Also, because of our privacy policy, the president is the privacy policy officer, so that's been changed. The secretary, the previous version they maintained the register of members. Well, that's not true. National does that, so that was removed from that statement. And the duties of the treasurer, we just wanted to make sure that it was recognized that the reports to the Registry of Joint Stock Companies was part of their role. Next, please. Proxies. This is one we discussed at length. We recognize that with respect to proxies, we have not had anyone vote by proxy in all the 10 years that I've been involved with the center. And I'm not sure if there were ever any that were voting by proxy. Add to that the fact that we now hold meetings here in person, but we also hold them out there for folks via online. So even if they can't make it into the city, they could still attend the meeting. And national, if you look at any of their policies, and there were about 4 or 5 different policies that involved meetings, none of them allowed voting by proxy. So our recommendation is that we delete the whole section 9.5 on proxies. So then, next please. This then affected our meeting section, so that the 9.1 annual general meeting, as well as the center's meeting, the 2 statements that are there are identical in both those sections. So the first statement is the same for 9.1.8 and 9.2.8, and the second statement identical for 9.1.9 and 9.2.9. So that just removed the ability to vote by proxy. Everything else is identical. And the meeting on requisition, the same thing. We've just removed the potential for voting by proxy. Conducting meetings, there were 2 statements added to allow for attendance other than in person. So there had not been any allowance for the electronic, et cetera, ability to attend meetings. And the second part of it was to we changed 9.4.6 to better define how a vote is cast, because that had not been clearly defined. And we wanted to ensure as well that it was known that the chair of the meeting does not vote unless it's to break a tie. So that was a change. Okay, no, that stays. So I'm opening the floor for questions, clarifications.
Nobody's touching that.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, there was no real major shift in how we do business. It was just clarification of roles and other pieces. All right. So, Jeff, as far as I know, once we approve it here, I'll be sending it off to the national board, so they're aware that we're going to be sending this to the RGSC and make sure there isn't any conflict with what they have. But basically, nothing here is, our changes are based on our policies. There really wasn't a whole lot that needed changing with respect to what was being done at the national level in terms of their bylaw. Well, he has, and he can. Okay, anything else? Is there a question there?
No, call the question.
All right. Now, Because the changes to the bylaw cannot be made by ordinary resolution, it has to be done by special resolution of the members. And this is the special resolution that was proposed by the board that the members accept. It's whereas it is recognized that from time to time, RASC terminology changes and advances in technology affect how RASC Halifax Center business is being conducted. And whereas the RASC policy changes may influence change. And whereas the Bylaw Review Committee completed their mandate to revise the RASC Halifax Center Bylaw number 1 on 29 October 24. And whereas the RASC Halifax Center Bylaw number 124 and the rationale for changes were pre-circulated to the membership, and I'm paraphrasing, on October 29, November 22, and December 3 for consideration. Be it resolved as a special resolution of members that RASC Halifax Center Bylaw number 124 is, as presented in the revised Bylaw number 1, supported by the rationale for changes document, be approved, and that the RASC Halifax Center Bylaw number 1, 2024, with the aforesaid revision, be forwarded to the Registry of Joint Stock Companies, RJSC, for approval prior to enactment. I need a motion to approve. Gary, seconder. Yes. Okay. All in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay. Is the poll results up? Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes the AGM.
Well done.
Well done.
Thank you. We have one more poll. I need a motion to adjourn. Paul, Ray, a motion to adjourn. I don't think so. Seconder, please. Thanks, Blair. All in favor? Okay, thank you. So, yeah. All right, and one more little bit there. So we have a 15-minute break, and don't forget the bids. As Mary Lou said, the number there for texting is there or through the chat. And one of the things I think I should mention is that unless you can pick this thing up today and take it home with you, we're not going to deliver unless we make, at least we're not going to ship it out of province. Let's put it that way. No. That's true. So stay tuned for the public meeting. We'll have a 15-minute break. Mary Lou and Michelle have very graciously provided some really cool treats over there for those of us in the room. So please enjoy. Don't forget to put in your bids. And we'll come back for our general meeting, and we'll looking forward to hearing Lisa Ann address seeing double, art and practical application of stereoscopy in space. Although for some of us, seeing double don't need stereoscopy, but nonetheless, come back in 15 minutes. So that will be 2:10.
So welcome to the December public members meeting. And first thing up is the telescope auction. And Mary Lou says there's been no additional bids by text. So should we?
Still at 550.
Yeah. So should we let it go to the end of the meeting? Perfect. Sounds good. Okay, so next up then is the photo montage, and I'll tell you, it's a short one. Well, it's not just his fault. Oh, it's his fault. Okay, so everyone knows, I think, what a lousy month November was for trying to take images. But we do have a number. So Dave Chapman's been using the BGO telescope to grab a few images, and this is a monochrome image of a galaxy, NGC 2841. This is a color's not coming out that well, but this was a color image that Dave had the BGO telescope take of M13. And when he posted this on the Facebook group, next one, please. He was comparing it with the M14, and that's better. And the colors were quite interesting. Yeah, go back to. So M13, lots of hot young blue stars, and then M14, more red stars, and kind of interesting. Next one, please. Jason Dane, dipping his foot into planetary imaging, and he posted this image of Jupiter and Io. Jeff Donaldson got this nice shot of the Tachinshan Atlas, the comet everyone was looking at and taking pictures of in October, and it's still got a tail. It's getting way out there, but it's still a nice object to image. And the star field's nice because he caught it passing between two open star clusters. And this is Jeff's latest shot at the Running Man Nebula and the Orion Nebula. Lots of nice color, lots of detail there. Next one, Tim Doucette, Messier 3, taken from Deep Sky Eye Observatory. Lots of nice colors, lots of hot young stars and a few older stars. Sunspots. I took advantage of a clear day on Remembrance Day and got this white light image of the sunspots were visible. And you may recall last meeting, one of the challenges I put out there was to look for the occulting of Neptune by the moon. And I thought, well, I'd take a shot at it myself. So I got this image just before the moon moved in front of Neptune.
How many minutes before?
2 or 3. Yeah, pretty. Next one, please. And Blair MacDonald. This is the Heart Nebula that he's been working on. It looks like this is a mosaic, Blair.
Mosaic.
Been working with.
Playing around sorting with software.
Yep. Next one, please. And the Tadpole Nebula. And see, there's the tadpoles. There's also an open star cluster in the center of this nebula. Next, and that's it. So, like I said, for what I do is I go through the photos that show up on the RASC Halifax Facebook page for the month preceding. So if you took an image early this month, I'll show it in January. You see what I mean?
Basically, previous month.
Yeah, previous month. Yeah, that's.
Well, the photo doesn't.
No, but it has to be posted.
That's what I want
Yeah.
to understand. Were all these photos taken the last?
I think most of them were taken in November. Most, if not all.
Dave, you're answering questions. Could you just
sure.
frame it for the audience?
Tony was asking whether what the criteria was to have pictures included in the photo montage, and what I do is look at what's been posted on the Halifax Center's Facebook page for the preceding month, and sometimes people post on the announce list. But I haven't seen any recently on that list.
Just to be clear, not that they had taken last year.
Yeah.
Posted.
Yeah. Posted. Yeah. It can be something you've been working on and for a couple of years, and the finished product, you post it, and then I'll put it up there. Okay? Yeah. 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 Okay. So now, just to remind everyone that Judy has Explore the Universe guides for sale. Anyone wants them? And now we go on to our special presentation by Lisa Ann Fanning, Seeing Double, Art and Practical Application of Stereoscopy in space. In space, right. So Lisa Ann's been a member for a number of years, and she has the distinction of residing in New Jersey. So she's one of our probably our most distant member.
Is that really a distinction?
Oh, right, James Edgar, yeah. So take it away, Lisa Ann.
Thank you so much. So I had a little fun with the title here, Seeing Double, because really the point of stereoscopy is to see one image. But very often people will see works and say, why are there two images side by side? That's for people who really don't know what stereoscopy is. So in this program, I'm going to talk about what stereoscopy is, how it works with the eye, as well as how is it used in space exploration and planetary exploration. So, as I mentioned, a lot of people don't know what stereoscopy is, and you kind of go through the speech, and then you say, well, do you know what ViewMaster is? And of course, a lot of people know what ViewMaster is, and that's a lot of people have experienced stereoscopy through ViewMaster when they were younger. My personal stereo story. So I loved my ViewMaster as a kid. My parents were married also in 1958, and their wedding photos were shot in stereo. So that was always a treat when they would take out the wedding photo slides, and I would look through their viewer and get to see their wedding in stereo. I stumbled on DIY stereoscopy because I started following Queen guitarist Brian May on Instagram in 2018 after the movie Bohemian Rhapsody came out. And he has revived the Victorian company, the London Stereo Company, which was long extinct, but he revived that company and started trying to get people excited about doing stereoscopy on their own. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Early in 2020, Rob and I set out to try to bring extinct birds to life via stereoscopy. We would go to various museums and have access to behind-the-scenes collections of things like ivory-billed woodpeckers and other extinct birds, and we would photograph these specimens and convert them to 3D photos. So Project Extinct was featured in ABA's Birding magazine, but unfortunately, as with everything else, the pandemic stopped our project. So speaking of the pandemic, Brian May actually issued a challenge during the pandemic to try to get people to show what their worlds were like, all across the planet, what was going on during the pandemic and how people were staying busy. He then created a photo gallery on Facebook and London Stereo's website where he would feature some of these photos. And then out of that, there was a book that was born called Stereoscopy is Good for You. And much to my surprise, they approached me to use a photo of one of the Brood X, which is one of those 17-year cicadas emerging in Princeton, New Jersey. And so that was an honor of a lifetime, I think. So let's talk about what stereoscopy is. As I mentioned before, it's a pair of images, and we'll see some examples later on. It shows the same objects, but the image is presented at slightly different angles. So the angles correspond to the lines of vision of the two eyes. So think binocular vision, right? You put up your binoculars and you see one image. The image is presented to the brain. It's combined into one in the brain. The difference in those two images is what translates to depth, and that's how the image is presented in 3D. The actual word stereoscopy itself comes from two Greek words, stereos, which is firm and solid, and scopio, which is to look or to see. So we can't talk about stereoscopy without talking about parallax. The Merriam-Webster definition of parallax is the apparent displacement or the difference in apparent direction of an object as seen from two different points, not on a straight line with the object. So I put this little graphic there because think about when you were a kid and you would hold your thumb out in front of your eyes and close one eye and close the other eye, and you would see it move. And then when you open it up, you see it in the middle as a 3D effect. So that's the parallax effect. Of course, we have different uses of the term parallax, and in astronomy, astronomers use the term to measure the distance between Earth and stars. They measure a star's position once, then again at another period of time, and calculate the change in position. So that's called stellar parallax. In depth perception, humans use parallax to create depth perception called stereopsis. And that's what we talked about before with the left and right eyes having slightly different points of view, and the brain then combines them to create the depth perception. So there are several ways that you can view in stereo. So if you have a stereo photo, you can do something called free viewing, which some people are able to do. I personally am not. But free viewing is viewing side by side without using a viewing device. And there are two different methods to this. There's parallel viewing, where some people can just relax their eyes, look at the left image with the left eye, right image with the right eye, and they can then converge those images and see one image in 3D. And this is, again, without using a viewing device. Cross-eyed viewing, which gives me a headache personally, you cross your eyes until the image appears double, and then you try to focus on the middle image to see the 3D effect. The left eye sees the right image and the right eye sees the left image. And so this does actually cause some strain for me, so I don't even attempt it. So I cheat. I use stereoscopic viewer. And these are some of the viewers from throughout time. So starting from left to right, those are some of the antique Victorian viewers that were used. On the bottom left there, you see Underwood and Underwood. That's the name of a producer that produced a lot of stereo cards in the Victorian era. Up above that is the Brewster type stereoscope, so different designs, but the same idea, right? Next one over is the Holmes, as in Oliver Wendell Holmes. He designed a stereoscope at the turn of the century. Then there is the stereo realist handy viewer, which if talking about my parents, going back to my parents' wedding slides, this was the type of viewer that they had along with their wedding slides. So this was a very popular tool in the 50s and 60s. And then in modern times, I talked about London Stereo, and there's Dr. Brian May holding his patented viewer, which is mass produced. And he calls them the Owl. So the Owl is I don't know if you can see this, but it's a 3D, that's the one that he's holding. It's a three-dimensional, if you will, viewer. You can even put your cell phone here if you want to view photos, as he has in the photo there. And the Light Owl is just a flat viewer that you hold up to your eyes. So we'll talk about how you can enjoy stereoscopy. You could do that in one of several ways. You could view already existing stereos. You can pair existing images, what I love to call finding pairs in the wild. And you can take your own stereo pairs. So let's talk about viewing existing stereos. One of the things I love to collect are stereo cards. So you can find antique stereo cards on sites like eBay or Etsy, or even garage sales for that matter. Some of the more common names that you'll find that are online, for example, American Stereoscopic Company. Keystone produced some fabulous series. A lot of them were travel oriented, so those are a lot of fun. I enjoy Keystone. I think most of my collection is Keystone. And Underwood and Underwood, who produced that stereoscope that we talked about earlier, they were also a major publisher of stereograph cards, and a lot of those are held today by the Library of Congress. If you're interested in purchasing stereo cards, I would caution you to read the fine print, because a lot of times sellers do sell replicas of these cards. which is fine because they work the same, but just know what you're buying. So if you're trying to buy it for the antiquity of it, know that a lot of times in very small print, they mention that it's a replica and not the actual original. There are modern stereo cards that are produced. London Stereo produced 2 series of Astro cards. They are often sold out. When I was putting this slideshow together, I did check, and they are currently sold out, but you can find them on secondary markets like eBay or Etsy. There are also some great stereo books out there related to space, so maybe some Christmas ideas here. You may want to check these out. The first 2, Mission Moon 3D and Cosmic Clouds, those are produced by London Stereo. David Eicher, who is the publisher of Astronomy Magazine, worked with Dr. Brian May to put these books together. The first one, Mission Moon, talks about the space race, and there's some great old photos presented in 3D there. Cosmic Clouds was done in conjunction with JP Metsaviano, who is a contributor, and this focuses on nebulas. Some fabulous 3D photos there. That really is a fun book. The next one is not produced by London Stereo. It's called Welcome to the Universe in 3D. It's a visual tour. So it talks about different elements in the universe. This was put together by Neil deGrasse Tyson and some other folks. I'll note that Robert Vanderby is the head of the astronomy department for Princeton here in New Jersey. So this is kind of a good, I would say, beginner book. If you're looking for something more artistic, I would lean you more toward the LSC books. And newly released last year was Bennu 3D. This is also a London Stereo book. So Dr. May, or Dr. Brian May, he actually worked on the team who worked with the data for the OSIRIS-REx mission to understand more about the anatomy of Bennu. And out of that work, along with Claudia Manzoni, this book was born. So some great 3D photos if you're interested in asteroids. Talked about finding pairs in the wild. So this is fun. This is always a fun little thing that I do on the side. One day I think it was Dave Chapman who had posted a photo of the comet Leonard. And so I decided to go through the image gallery, Ralph's image gallery, and look at different photos. And I found this other photo that Quinn Smith had ordered. And so these were 2 photographs taken 41 minutes apart with Ralph. And when you put them in the stereo viewer, the comet actually pops and you can see the stars in the background. If anybody wants, by the way, any of these images, if you want to try this at home, let me know, and I'm happy to send them your way. All right, and then if you want to take your own stereo pairs, back in the 80s, 90s, I guess the early 90s, 3D cameras were available for sale. So I think there are some new producers today. This is probably the most popular, economical version of a 3D camera. This is the Fujifilm FinePix W3. They don't produce it anymore, but there are a lot for sale on sites like eBay, and you can get a hold of one that's used. Some photographers also create their own rigs. So they will take 2 cameras and, based on what they like to shoot, they will space out the 2 rigs so that they can create the double lens for 3D photos. And of course, with everything else in life, there's an app for that. So I've highlighted on the bottom i3D Steroid. I am an iPhone user. So this one in particular is my preferred choice of apps, but there are a number of other apps out there, not just for the iPhone, also for Android. So those are some examples up there. You could just look through your app store for 3D cameras. So if you want to use a single lens camera, you can. I've done that as well. You could either use your cell phone. I also use my Canon PowerShot. but you need to do the cha-cha. So when they say the cha-cha, the way that you do it is you take your first photo by putting the weight on your left foot. You take your photo, then you lean or you shift your weight to the right foot and take the second photo. So that changes the angle. But the important thing to keep in mind is that you need to keep your camera very stationary. So you need to make sure you're not changing that angle as you're shifting. You're keeping the camera at the same angle. And the distance that you shift will depend on the distance of your subject. So further away, you want to shift more. All right, once you have your images, now what? So you can either use some of those apps that I mentioned before, allow you to align the images and adjust them. Or on the computer, what a lot of people will use is Stereo Photo Maker. This is freeware. And they're constantly updating this one. This one also allows you to make 3D photos using anaglyph. So today I'm just talking about pure stereo, but anaglyph is the type of 3D photos where you need the red and cyan glasses. So this program also allows you to make 3D photos that way. All right, let's talk about one of our favorite subjects, shooting the moon. Certainly is mine. Of course, the moon has long been a favorite subject, and Victorian curiosity gave birth to a new way to view the moon. This gentleman pictured here, Warren de la Rue, who was with the Royal Astronomical Society in the UK. He set out to take photos of the moon, but to achieve the 3D effect, he used time instead of two lenses. So we'll see on the next slide, we'll see an example of his work. In one set, he took the first image taken in February of 1858. The moon was aged 14.2 days old. Second one, September 11th of 1859, where it was 14.8 days old. So when viewed as a stereo pair, President of the Royal Astronomical Society, John Lee, noted that it brought to light details of dikes and terraces and furrows and undulations of the lunar surface, of which no certain knowledge had previously existed. So it really is a fun way to view the moon if you're willing to experiment a little bit at home. So that is the oldest example of a stereo. So that's one of Warren de la Rue's Moon series stereos. That Scana's Credit of London Stereo. They have that particular card in their collection. So you have to remember, why he did it this way. So you have to remember that the diameter of the Earth it's not sufficient. You can't just do a cha-cha on the moon, right? That's not going to work because you need that distance to achieve the 6:1 ratio baseline. So the correct method is to photograph the moon at exactly the same or as close to possible the same phase and illumination angle. So you want to play with libration or the wobble to effectively create the illusion of parallax. And so in July of 2021, one of my stereo internet friends, Chiara Tomiani, she approached me, and she lives in Italy, and she said, let's collaborate. I want to experiment with this. And so we became friends on the internet because we both frequently photographed the moon, and we both had extensive catalogs of the moon by phase, by illumination. So we were able to use that method of the fact that we cataloged by illumination and age to find a pair that worked, and this created a sufficient stereo. So when you look at this through a stereo viewer, or if any of you are lucky enough to free view or cross-eye, you can actually see the details in the craters. It's really a fun one. So in this image, Chiara, her image is on the left. She took that photo in the 28th of November in 2018, and on the right is my image of the waning gibbous moon taken on the 28th of June 2021. So we talked about the art part. Let's talk about the practical use of stereoscopy in space exploration. When I was putting this together, I learned that it goes further back than I thought. So I learned that Kodak had produced an Apollo lunar surface close-up camera called the ALSCC, And it flew on Apollo 11, 12, 13, which did not return any photos, and 14. The cameras photographed a 3 by 3 inch patch of the lunar surface using an electronic flash, recorded the image on Ektachrome film. It's a throwback there. And the film was returned to Houston for processing. So here's an example. So you see these two images and they clearly look different, but if you align them, these two images, this was AS 1140-5943 and 5944. This is Buzz Aldrin carrying packages of some of the early Apollo scientific experiments to the deployment site. And if you align those images, because of the difference in the angle, they actually work as a stereo pair. So that was pretty cool to find out. So staying with the moon, in current day moon exploration, they have a stereo camera system called SCALPS, which stands for Stereo Camera for Lunar Plume Surface Studies. On the Nova-C mission, which was the mission that was launched on the Falcon 9 that landed in the South Pole region of the moon, I think that was in search of signs of water. That mission. So they implemented this particular camera setup called SCALPS. And there were 4 different perspectives. So 2 stereo pairs were on that lander to allow for 3D models. And what these cameras are focusing on is what happens when landings, before and after landings of these, excuse me, of the landers takes place. So they were studying they were using these not so much for the actual moon itself, but for the landings so that they could apply this information to the future Artemis missions, which unfortunately this week I heard are being further delayed. So whenever that happens. And not just the moon. So, so for solar observations, NASA has the Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory, or STEREO. This was launched in 2006. There were 2 cameras, Stereo A and Stereo B. This was built by the APL. And one spacecraft was launched ahead of the Earth's orbit and the other one behind. So this allowed for the proper angles to create 3D images of the sun, as well as interplanetary space and the 3D structure of magnetic fields. But unfortunately, in 2014, Stereo B communications were officially lost, but Stereo A does remain operational today. So in the future, hopefully we can look forward to stereo photos of Jupiter's moon Europa. So a stereo camera system was launched on the Europa Clipper. And this was called the Europa Imaging System. That was launched in October of 2024, hoping to arrive sometime in 2030. The objective of that mission is to determine if Europa has conditions suitable to support life. I may be signing up sooner than later if it does. But there are 2 different imaging systems there. There's a wide-angle camera. It's an 8-megapixel camera that produces high-res color and stereoscopic images. And there's also a narrow-angle camera, sort of similar specs there, but in a narrow spectrum. Not just NASA. I know I talked about a lot of NASA examples, but the European Space Agency has stereo cameras on their Mars Express, and they were actually the same setup that were utilized in the Russian-led Mars 96 mission. So a lot of exploration of Mars going on right now, as we know, and there is some stereo cameras in there. To date, about 90% of Mars's surface has been mapped by the HRSC. Which is the name of ESA's setup. And with NASA's Mars exploration, there have been a lot of use of stereoscopy. So Mars Pathfinder had stereoscopic cameras, Sojourner, the rover, Mars Global Surveyor, which was an orbiter, was known for returning about more than 240,000 images to Earth, many of which were stereoscopic, and Spirit. Those were all past missions. Rover Opportunity, which more recently ended its mission in 2019, had some great stereo images returned. And of course, Perseverance continues to send back some beautiful images from their mission in Jezero Crater. So here are some examples of these. I believe were from Perseverance. So the rovers have various cameras, and keep this in mind as I'm talking to it, because it'll apply to a little homework assignment I may be giving you. Color navigation cameras, those are called nav cams. They help with navigation. There are HAZ cams. Those are also stereo pairs that help with hazard detection. There's a Mast Cam Z. Those are multicolor, red, green, and blue. They also have ultraviolet and infrared images. And pan cams as well. That was also on rover Spirit and Opportunity. And that can view different wavelengths of light. But you can see that there are pairs of images that when you put them together create these gorgeous stereos of the surface of Mars, and really, really fun to play with. So I'm going to leave you with this. So this is your homework assignment, should you choose to accept it. If you want to explore Mars, you can certainly play along at home. NASA's photo galleries are all public domain, so you can go out there and pull the photos for your use, as long as they're not for commercial use. Left and right cam images are available, and you'll see in that screenshot there that I've highlighted where you can check them off if you want to focus on specific types of photos, for example. And then you can put them into some of those tools that I talked about earlier, some of those programs where they align the images and adjust them for you. And you can create your own stereo pairs, and it's just a lot of fun, something to do on a rainy day. So with that, I will say thank you and see if there are any questions. No questions, or did everybody get scared when I said homework?
Maybe. Hey, are there any questions here for Lisa Ann? Mary Lou. Comment from Mary Lou. Okay, I'll just repeat that. Yeah, Mary Lou said the cross-eyed technique works well with the Mars images.
Great.
Keep that in mind. Tony asked what was the name of the app?
So the camera app that I use is i3D Steroid. And then there's Stereo Photo Maker, which is more for computers. So that's an app for computers. And that does not have a camera. So that one is just to align photos that you take with single lens.
Any other questions? Any questions out in Zoom? None? Okay, so please join me then in thanking Lisa Ann for a great talk. And we'll all be cross-eyed.
Don't recommend it.
Okay. So next on the list is if there are any outreach opportunities. I don't know of any coming up in January at this time, but if anyone's interested in helping with outreach, drop me an email and I'll be happy to keep you in mind for any future outings. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so Blair says he takes advantage of the captive audience in Halloween to show. Yeah, yeah, and while the kids are looking at Saturn or Jupiter, he's rifling through their treat bags. So something for next year. Yeah. Okay. Next up then is Food for the Soul with Paul Heath. Put it on the, yep.
Hey, Mon, you here? Yeah. Hey, sorry, Lisa Ann, but the title today is Cross-Eyed.
Hope I don't get a headache.
Um, Actually, this poem sort of derived from the very first slide she had with the old style. I remember using them as a kid. So we started looking that way. So cross-eyed, laughter fills the room. As cross-eyed our classmates stare until our turn to stare arrives. A balloon floats upon the air. Images from eagle's height paired upon the page. With glasses on stilts, we peered, meticulous to maps contours applied. From air so thin, a camera winds. Mountain tours on page aligned, hanging the storm's threat on mass. To ground, safety's warning was passed. But then the lights upon the sky, our desires, hopes aspired. Stilted glass, safe landing sought. Our first steps on distant lands to plot. Distant cameras circle now to seek the shape the sky contains, and hopes with laughter's memory held. In far, far distant lands, through stilted glass we'll see a balloon, again afloat on air. So we're hoping to use the stereo to find life on another planet. Yeah. Thanks. You're next.
So next up is Tony with news from the board.
Thank you, David. No real big news from the board for this month. I just like to take the opportunity to thank those who have served. We've had a number of folks complete their term, and I just wanted to acknowledge the work and enjoyed working with all of those folks. And I look forward to working with the incoming board, who will start our tenure in January. So I would like now just to, perhaps, as you all know, in March we lost a pillar of the Canadian astronomy community with the untimely passing of our friend and comrade Dave Lane. Dave's passion and dedication to the RASC, and in particular Halifax Centre, has left an indelible mark on our community. And I would like to welcome Dave's wife, Michelle, who has a very special announcement to share with us.
All right. Hi, everyone. So it doesn't matter how many times I speak, I still tear up. Dave loved the RASC, and he especially loved the St. Croix Observatory. In fact, even long after, thank you, even long after he built his own, which now wonderfully resides, this Abbey Ridge Observatory is at John Reed's Stargaze Nova Scotia site, in good hands, continuing the legacy. As will soon be the Earth-centered universe that Dave created. That's going to be in wonderful hands with the team at Maxim, Doug George, and made available as freeware, which I'm really excited about. But when it came to the RASC and his passion for astronomy, having the St. Croix Observatory meant the world to him. He helped to build it, keep it going, and visiting there, and saw it as the jewel in this center's entire operations. And so when we started to plan legacies and gifts, we decided on a number of things, but it became evident pretty early on in our conversations that St. Croix needed to figure in that planning. And it gives me great pleasure today to be making a gift, and I'll hand a check to to Tony for $10,000 as an initial contribution to establish the St. Croix Observatory Property Endowment Fund, or as I've come to call it, Dave Scope Fund. And who knows, maybe in some other astral realm, he's joking about the opportunity to buy a new telescope and see it operating at St. Croix. But in fact, rather than purchasing telescopes, the important thing about this fund, and I think this is something to be celebrated for all members, is that it is an endowment opportunity. So the principal stays invested, the income is used, and the bigger the endowment, the greater the income opportunity for upgrades, for annual maintenance, so that St. Croix can live on in perpetuity as the jewel in your crown. And so I thought, with all of our legacy gifts, what Dave and I really wanted was opportunities to continue the work he'd started so that the stars could be for everyone, and that there could be access and education and opportunities for enjoyment. And we tried with all of our gifts to have endowments that would live in perpetuity, but also where there could be matching funding. And so each of the endowments is set up with matching fund opportunities. And so although I'm giving $10,000 today, I am pledging $5,000 that can be paid out in 2025 to match any of your gifts. And Tony, I think, might talk about how that's going to happen. But it would give me the greatest of pleasures to be able to write a second check a year from now to match funds that are donated so that the endowment can grow, and that it becomes something that is celebrated and contributed to over time. Because, when it comes to dark sky observing, there are more and more places, but there really aren't very many when you think about how much light filters into the sky and how many obstructions there are. And so I think what is very special about St. Croix is just how remarkable that location is. And it is a testament to the work of not only Dave, but many members of this club, that it exists. And I think it will be able to carry on in perpetuity with the work of everyone in this room and the center itself. And so on behalf of Dave and my desire to support him and pay tribute, I am pleased to announce this gift today and to pledge that money.
So using it in the tag, all of that jazz, and it looks really good. Thank you. That's great. I'm sure other people are also taking pictures. All right. So the microphone is right there.
Well, on behalf of the members of RASC Halifax, thank you, Michelle. For those who are not familiar with St. Croix Observatory, it is a very special place. It's a place where our community of astronomers have gathered for nearly 30 years now. It's a place where we go to observe, to explore, to contemplate, and to wonder. It's a place where friendships are formed and developed, and where experienced people mentor folks new to astronomy. It's a place where knowledge is shared, goals pursued, and personal milestones achieved. It's a place where people connect. So Michelle, please accept our deepest gratitude to you and to Dave for your thoughtful and generous donation. It will help us keep St. Croix as the jewel of Halifax Centre. So thank you. There's a note, just a side note, sorry. As Michelle had mentioned, there's an endowment component to that bequest. And so we have a small group, working group put together, and there'll be more to come about that too. And so we're very thrilled about the concept of being able to match donations, so which effectively doubles any donations made for St. Croix. So More to come on that in the early part of the next year in January.
Okay, so now we come to the what's up portion of the meeting. So what to look for in this month in the night sky. Next image. Okay, so pretty obvious we're in the month that has the shortest days of the year. The earliest sunset is on December 6th to the 11th at 4:33, and you know, if you think the days are short here, be glad you don't live in the far north. I saw a post on one of the Facebook pages of pictures taken from somewhere in far north Nunavut, and sunrise was like 10:45, and sunset was 1 o'clock or one around then. So the sun barely kissed the horizon before it went back down. So. Well, if you're an imager, it's not bad, but yeah, yeah, yeah. The grease may, yeah, that's right. Winter solstice, 21st of December at 5:20 a.m. and noon is the highest point of the sun in the sky. December 31st is at 12:17. But as Blair says, lots of time for imaging if you don't mind the cold, or if you're lucky enough to have remote setups. Next one, please. Okay, the sun. This is kind of an interesting story. The NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory Data Center is located at Stanford University, and they had a flood. And as a result, that data center is offline until sometime in 2025. So spaceweather.com is relying on images taken by amateur astronomers to put up for their daily solar image of sunspots. So this image I grabbed last night from yesterday, so it won't look too much different today. And this was taken by Ivo de Moulinaire from Thames, Belgium. And actually shows up lots of nice granulation and some decent sunspot groups. Next one, please. So the new moon was December 1st, the winter chief moon. And hopefully on December 4th, it was clear. So hopefully everyone got to see the crescent moon near Venus. I've seen some nice pictures taken, posted on Facebook and at Earth Sky. It was Venus was very brilliant in the post sunset sky. First quarter moon, December 8th, and then on that date as well, you'll see the moon near Saturn. On the 14th, the moon is near Jupiter. The 14th is also the peak of the Geminid meteor shower. Talk about that later. The first full moon is on the 15th. 17th, the moon's near Mars and the Beehive cluster. Last quarter on December 22nd. Another meteor shower on the 22nd, the Ursids. And the new moon on December 30th. So we'll have two new moons in December. So, and that's Tom Cod spawning moon. Next slide. So December 4th, this is what you would have seen if you were looking through binoculars in the west, thin crescent moon and Venus. And I point this out if you probably didn't notice it, but there's a minor planet there, Ceres. It was also visible in that field of view. Next one, please. This is what 7x50 binoculars on the 14th. You'll see the nearly full moon with Jupiter on the other side of the field of view, and a open star cluster in the middle. Next, please. And the 17th, this is the, I think this is the star of the month. Mars, center of field of view, nearly full moon, the top, and the beehive cluster down below. So not only will this be a really nice sight in binoculars, but will be a nice photo opportunity as well. Yes, please. Best time to tick off objectives for Explore the Moon, or part of Explore the Universe, will be around the time of first quarter, so the December 6th to the 10th. You'll be able to easily pick out the areas circled in green. Next one, please. The planets in December. So again, this is a month when all the planets will be visible at some point. So by mid-December, before sunrise, you can see Mercury. And then after sunset, we have Venus and Mars, getting brighter all the time, rising before midnight. Jupiter is at its brightest now. In fact, it will achieve opposition tonight, or sometime today. So that's when its orbit brings it closest to the Earth, and it's brilliant in the night sky after sunset in the east. Saturn is getting a little more difficult. It's in Aquarius after sunset, but will set fairly early over the night. Uranus is still visible near Taurus, near the boundary with Aries for all of December, and Neptune before midnight you can find in Pisces. Next, please. So the Geminid meteor shower. At a dark site, this is a pretty good meteor shower, up to 120 meteors per hour with long, slow tracks. But the problem this year is there's almost a full moon very close to the radiant. And you can see that in this image here. The moon to one side of Auriga, and Gemini with the Geminid radiant pretty close by. So you'll be lucky to see anything. Really bright meteors you might still see, but it's not going to be a great year for the Geminids. Ursids might be a little bit better in the end of the month. Next one, please. So winter constellations noted in Explore the Universe are Auriga, Gemini, Taurus, Orion, Canis Major, and Canis Minor. And this is what they'll look like around 10 o'clock on the 20th of December. So if we have clear skies, you can tick off all those winter constellations quite easily. Next. A asterism, or a couple asterisms of note. This picture's from Dave Chapman, and it shows the winter triangle. So everyone's familiar with the summer triangle, but there's also a winter triangle formed by Procyon, Betelgeuse, and Sirius. And there's the winter hexagon, which incorporates the winter triangle. And it includes Castor and Capella, Aldebaran, Rigel, as well as Sirius and Procyon. So it covers. Oh yeah, could be. Yeah, some people call it the winter football too. Next, please. Stars. During the winter, we get to see the brightest star visible from Earth, which is Sirius. And then a number of other bright stars are pretty prominent in the sky. And it's good to know these, because if you've got a SynScan Go-To telescope, these are some of the stars that are used for alignment. Next, please. Your deep sky object for the winter is Kemble's Cascade. So this is an asterism, which you can find pretty easily if you refer to an app like Stellarium. You can see where it's located, forming a triangle with the base of the triangle M37 and the Pleiades. And if you're looking for Kemble's Cascade, notice the open star cluster NGC 1502 at the bottom of the cascade. Next, please. Winter stars. This is an easy one. Winter double star is Theta Tauri. It's 2 third magnitude stars, one yellow, one blue. It's a fairly wide double, so pretty easy to split. And you can see that it's just to the right of Aldebaran. And that's it for what's up in December. Any questions? Tony.
All the planets are up. Some people like to take pictures, but there's also the moon up. So the astro-imagers here, is it worthwhile trying to do the planets when the moon is bright in the sky? Because they're so bright.
Yeah, Tony's asking about imaging the planets when the moon is in the sky and quite bright. And yeah, planets you can image quite easily, whether the moon's there or not. The other objects that are good to image when there's even a full moon, as long as it's on, not nearby your subject of interest, are open star clusters. They turn out quite well and if you have a appropriate filter, emission nebulae, you can take some pretty good shots of emission nebulae with, as long as you have one of the dual band filters. Yeah, and O3s. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thanks very much. So next up is the winning bid. Yep. But we have to do the winning bid for the scope. Want to do that?
Just checking the chat.
Well, we're checking Dave.
Yes.
What crater was that? What part of the moon was it?
That was Schroeder's Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, Aristarchus. Pardon? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, that's one of the better pictures I got of it. Yeah, yeah, the shadows have to be just right. Yeah. Sure. Jerry, can you go back one slide? So lava domes. Try to get this. Yeah. Yeah. So. Oh, south here.
My angle, your hands are to the front of the ring.
So I'm seeing lots of rills.
Yeah, lots of craters, if I'm correct. This is actually a lava dome.
Oh, okay.
You can see the dimple
Cool.
and then the hollow on the top.
Right.
That's actually
Yeah.
a dome.
Yeah. So that actually looks like another one there.
Yeah.
Smaller one. Yeah.
They're really neat to try to see visually and photograph position.
Okay, so what Paul was pointing out were the lava domes that are visible in this image. Okay, are we ready, Mary Lou?
We have a winning bid, $550. I'm told it's going to Judy Blunt.
Oh, Merry Christmas indeed. Well done. Nice. Well, more clouds. That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so for those in Zoom land, we have a winning bid, $550 for the telescope, and it's a Merry Christmas present to Judy Black. And thank you very much for the $550 donation to the just announced Scope Fund, St. Croix Observatory Property Endowment Fund. But that's not part of the matching fund scheme. That starts on January 1st, okay? Thanks, everybody.
Good one. Okay, so the last item on the agenda is the results of the Astro-Imaging contest. And
can everyone in Zoom land hear me okay? Okay, I have a thumbs up from our audio director up there. And so just a little history on the astrophotography contest that the center has been putting on now for several years. It started several years ago, quite a few years ago actually, as an event that was part of Nova East. And it grew from there to basically cover the entire center, not just Nova East attendees. And just recently, it's been expanded to cover the entire province of Nova Scotia. So next year, the world? At any rate, so anyone who is a member of the Halifax Center, no matter where you live, hint Lisanne, and anyone who lives in Nova Scotia can submit photos for the Astrophoto contest. Our sponsors, Atlantic Photo Supply, have been with us from the start, and they helped us design the contest to raise the visibility of astrophotography in the area, and also to get people out looking up at the night sky. So it's been quite successful in that sense. So we started with just a few entries in the Nova East contests, and now this year we have 28 images that were presented for judging across 3 categories. And the categories were designed so that people with a wide variety of equipment could enter the contest. You can enter the contest with a cell phone picture in the wide field category. So you don't need to have a large telescope or access to RELF as an example, but you can still enter and be judged in the contest. Excuse me, last cup of coffee went down the wrong way. So at any rate, let's move on, Jerry, to the first winner. And congratulations, Jerry. Jerry's deep sky image of the Monkey Head Nebula, a nebula in Orion, if I remember correctly. One, for several reasons. One, it's a nice image, but it's also a good color palette. There's reasonable sharpening applied to the image. Jerry didn't go overboard, and he did great on noise correction. The picture up here doesn't do it justice when you look at it at full scale on the web. So I definitely encourage everybody to go take a look at the winning images that will be up or are up.
They're not noted as winners.
Okay, so they are up on the website, and they definitely look a whole lot better than they do up here. Artistic license. So next category was interesting. We had a tie this year. We have 2 winners, David Hoskins and David Hoskins. David presented 2 images. Excuse me. One, the Petavius crater. And I kind of like this crater. It's rather unique in that it's got this rill running right out to the edge. It's visible, rather easily visible, in the phases before first quarter. If you don't catch it then, you've really got to wait till the next month. The rill pretty much disappears. It's a function of the angle of the light coming into the crater that makes that quite visible. David also submitted a montage from the total solar eclipse this year. And as you can see, he's captured all of the phases, if you will, of the eclipse from no eclipse all the way to totality, and arranged them quite nicely. He even put in the logo for the center in case anyone is curious. There we go. And finally, we have a winner in the wide field category. And this image is just spectacular. Again, the image up on the projector here doesn't do it justice. It's a wide field image of an aurora, complete with the Milky Way. There's even star color in the image, which is actually quite hard to get in a wide field image. So Jeremy did a wonderful job in producing this image. I'm going to plead ignorant on that and say, no, I don't know where that was taken.
I think it's noted on the website.
Okay, so check the website. I'm not sure myself where that image was taken. At a lake? But no, it is a spectacular image. And I love the title, Shields Down, as in magnetic shields. Congratulations to the 3 winners in the 3 categories. We have one more, I won't call it a category, it's the People's Choice Award. And that award is voted on by the members of the center, as opposed to the judges who judge the other 3 images. And this year, the winning image is Jason Dane for his image of the Milky Way and Comet C2023A3. So Jason's got a wonderful image. Again, it looks much better on the website. You can see the comet here, the Milky Way rising straight up from the horizon, and just a stunning image. And that's our astrophoto contest winners for this year. Yes.
I want to note that for all the Astro-Imaging submitted photographs, understand that.
Just speak loud, that's all.
Yeah. For all the folks that, thank you. For all the folks that submitted images to the contest, I believe they can contact, I don't know if their comments are online or can they have access to?
Email me and all.
Yeah, Jerry has access, has all the comments made by the adjudicators. Improvement could be made, so if you're interested in that, contact Jerry and he will send those to you. The adjudicators were the gentleman beside me, Blair MacDonald, as well as Jason Dane. Jason could not submit to the other 3 categories because he won all 3 last year.
The other thing I should mention is the prizes this year are, what was the size of the prints? 12 by 18 canvas wrap prints of their pictures. If anyone has ever printed an astrophoto, canvas is the way to go. The noise in the photo disappears into the canvas weave and you just get this fantastic picture. So I think they'll be quite pleased with the prizes this year. And that's true, not till January. It's going to take Atlantic Photo Supply a little while to get those prints made. So as a result, I believe you said Alan will be contacting the winners in January when their prints are available. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, Blair, and thanks to Jason for adjudicating those images. And that brings us to the end of the meeting. So I hope to see everyone in the new year. Next meeting will be in first Saturday in January. And in the meantime, happy holidays, everyone.
Please hang up and try again.